Good. We are officially recording. Thanks, team. Okay, so what I would love to talk about today is setting some goals for next year and creating kind of a vision and clarity about not only what you want to achieve next year, but who you want to be and all that good stuff. Does that sound valuable to you guys? This will. I think you guys know I'm doing a mini. I'm doing an event in January. So Bridget, this will be kind of like a warm up to that in a way. But it'll at least give us kind of some groundwork for that, and then on that day we can really dive into it. Cool. So I'd love to start. I love to reverse engineer just about everything. So where I would probably encourage you guys to start is by me muting everyone. I would just encourage you to write down how much money you want to make next year. And as simple as that is, it's a great place to start. How much money do you want to make next year? And if you guys want to share that with me and everybody else on the call, that's great. And if you want to keep that to yourself for now, that's okay too. Sometimes there's some power in just kind of keeping it to yourself. There's no right or wrong way to do it. But my encouragement to you would be to stretch yourself. Whatever you think is possible for next year, go a little bit beyond that, or a lot beyond that, depending on how you want to play the game. Yeah, and just give yourself permission to kind of like, I think very often there's a difference between what we allow ourselves to have and what we really want. Can you guys agree with that? Is that real in your world? So let's put that under the microscope a little bit before we get into things here. Where else in your life, and you can share this if you want, or you can just write it down or just think about it. Where else in your life is there a difference between what you give yourself and what you really want? Where else in your life is there a difference between what you give yourself and what you really want? Does anyone want to share? Okay, that's cool. Oh, Lauren. Hi, Lauren. You're driving and you'll be home soon. That's always her story. Is that true?
I'll be to a cafe soon.
Okay, perfect.
Meetings.
Well, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Okay, cool. Bridget, do you want to talk about that, Bridget? Is that something that you want to dive in with me right now about?
Sure.
Cool. So tell me.
Yeah, I think like I've been doing a lot of unpackaging of my patterns around relationships this year, and I think what I've discovered so far is that I am pretty romantic as a person. But on some level, I don't think that's realistic, or I don't think I'm allowed to, like, I think I do this, like, not just with relationships, but like career aspirations and things like that. Like my dreams feel too big to be realistic. So in the past, I justify settling for stuff that isn't really what I want because it feels like that's the adult thing to do, or the the realistic thing.
Sure. Okay. And when you how would you categorize being realistic? Like, no, here's the question I want to ask. When you do that, how does it make you feel?
Safer.
Okay.
But I guess in my experience, what's happened is I've done that, and then it kind of comes back around later and hits me in the face like, oh, I could have done X sooner and still. So I guess maybe another example would be I've always wanted to do acting.
Okay.
And as like a job. And I kept having realistic reasons for why I didn't go to drama school.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I don't have money, I have student loans, like blah, blah, blah. And now, like, in hindsight, there's a part of me going, but if I had taken that leap back then, like, I wouldn't have the huge student loan debt from my grad degree and that stuff. So, like, I feel frustrated where I see there was an opportunity to take that leap sooner and sort of expand faster. And I put a cap on it.
Okay.
So now I'm kind of like going forward with a lot of those things more now, but there's that like realization that I made it harder than it had to be, or I kept it smaller than it had to be.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay. Well, not maybe, definitely, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you are not doing that as much now. And I want you to be honest, like there's no right or wrong answer to the question I'm about to ask you, but the question is, how much in your life do you want to put a cap on yourself? And before you answer, obviously, like the answer that most people would feel like is what they should say is no cap. But I only want you to say that if that's really, really like extremely true for you, because some people do want varying levels of safety and certainty in their lives. Like, for example, not everyone is meant to be an entrepreneur because that the risk and the uncertainty that comes with that world is some people just don't want that. And they can be honest with themselves and be like, you know what? I'm good with that. Like, I don't need that world. I have no desire to be in that world. If I can work a 9 to 5 and just have certainty, I can still be happy and content and everything's good. And that's not a lie. That's really true for them. So I want your answer, but I want your really real answer.
I don't want to cap myself anymore. And I think that's a change for me in like this year, maybe even the past few months, where I think before I definitely was more like doing that thing of saying, I want to do this, but only insofar as I don't want to be too uncomfortable, or like I want to have income I can rely on, or whatever. And I think what I'm feeling right now, at least in this moment, answering this question, is to not put a cap on myself would mean believing I can have that security as well.
Cool.
I can set it up in a way that I can achieve financial goals and stability to the degree that feels safe in a good sense rather than in a sort of restrictive sense.
Yeah.
While still playing all out.
Okay. Cool. Great. And let's look at the flip side of that. Sometimes when you play all out, you lose. So with this kind of desire to play all out comes with it your understanding that there is a chance that you could lose, and to be okay with that. That's the difference.
Yeah.
That the reason that most people play it safe is because the cost of playing it safe to them at least feels like it's less than the cost of losing. But some people, not everyone, but some people like you in this moment realize that the cost of playing it safe costs more than losing, than trying and losing. Not trying costs more than trying and losing. And I think that's what you're feeling in this moment.
Yeah. I think maybe because I've just this year kind of really experienced both sides of that.
Yep.
in the sense that like I went from a fairly flexible job to a very corporate environment, and it was kind of like that security at a cost, right? The kind of like, this is the putting a limit on what I think I can get.
Yep.
And I hated it, and I wasn't happy, and I felt stifled. And now I've left that job, and my situation is a lot more precarious in this moment. But like every day I'm a lot happier that I'm not doing the other thing.
Great.
So I think that's what you're saying. But
yeah,
it's like my lived experience specifically this year, because the contrast is so big.
Yeah. So you have some pretty real examples of the cost of playing it safe and the benefit of following what you really want.
Yeah. And I think basically I'm more able to do that when it comes to work.
Okay.
And I think there's maybe a part of me to sort of bounce back to the relationships piece.
Yeah.
That doesn't trust that what I really want is something that exists. So there's a part of me maybe that's doubting, like that's sort of going, oh, you're being so unrealistic, and also that's embarrassing. So there's like two pieces. I don't want other people to think I'm naive and romantic and like it, like sort of thinking that I can have more than what is real.
Yeah.
Some sort of romantic ideal. And then there's a part of me that also just thinks, you know, maybe I have watched too many rom-coms and I don't have a realistic standard of what a real relationship looks like.
Sure. Okay. Well, I can tell you this. I can tell you that magic absolutely does not exist if you don't believe in it. And so romance is really not much different. I don't know if you know much about my relationship. Do you know about that story at all?
Not really. I've seen like your photos of your wedding pictures and stuff. I know you posted something the other day about, I guess, an anniversary maybe or something. But
yeah. I got married in March to someone that I've known for like 13 years. And I grew up in the beginning as what most people would call a hopeless romantic, because I did believe that amazing, epic love was possible. And I was willing to be foolish, and I was willing to be thought naive by the people that knew me. I was willing to have them think that of me, because it felt better for me to believe in the magic of love and be thought a fool than to downplay that and not believe it. That felt way worse. And so the more you guys get to know me, the more you'll understand that I'm an absolute stickler for language. Language, maybe the next call we'll do an entire call about language. I think that's actually a good idea. Shannon, we're going to do that. Okay, thank you very much. Language is really important because the words that you use directly point at your belief system and your identity. Every single word you use points back to that. So all you have to do is listen to the words that people use, and it's a pretty good indicator of what's going on internally. And so for me, someone who works with people to do really amazing things in the world, I listen very carefully to their language, because I'm looking out for those words that ultimately trace back to those mindsets that most likely would be in the way of them accomplishing really awesome stuff. And so there's this funky phrase in our culture, which is hopeless romantic, which is this person who believes in love. They believe in the magic, and maybe they have watched too many romantic comedies, but they believe it. That's the difference. They've seen maybe too many, but that doesn't matter. They believe that it could be real for them. And yet they tack on this hopeless part, and that kind of ruins it. because then they're like, oh, I believe, because let's be honest, like, cause it's just us here, right? Like, you believe, am I right? Like, you really believe.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, like we're talking, like, you couldn't be talking to a more hopeless romantic than me. The difference is I changed the language. I changed it from hopeless to hopeful. You get it?
Mm-hmm.
And I started to not only believe, but to really expect. It's one thing to believe that maybe someday something magical will happen, but it's another thing to be hopeful for it. Right? There's almost a layer of expectation that comes from that. And as Tony would say, we don't get what we want, we get what we expect. It's kind of like respect. Respect doesn't happen accidentally. The people who get a lot of respect get it because they command it. They expect it, right? Magic is the same way. If you, it's like, you ever meet someone who's like super happy-go-lucky? You ever meet those people? Mm-hmm. And just like everything unfolds for them just in an awesome way. And they're just, they are like kind of naive in a way, and they just kind of bounce through life and just stuff like happens. Well, secretly what they're doing, and they don't even know it, is it's a feedback loop. They just kind of expect that the world is awesome and like everyone is friendly and like there's nothing bad that will ever happen. And so that's just kind of the map of the world that's inside their mind. And so that's what happens. And then they get feedback of that proves that to them. So they're like, oh, I guess that's how it is. Because like the universe just guides them in ways where like the sketchy dude that really might have been a bad news situation, they like avoid, and then they talk to the nice old lady who like gives them a loaf of bread or something. They're like, oh God, this is good. Right? Meanwhile, the guy who like believes that life is a war crosses the street and runs into the bad news guy, and then like fucking shit goes down, right? So it's amazing how it works. So my point is, you have to believe in it, which you already do, but you have to give it a chance for life. It's not enough to just believe in it. You have to it's not enough to believe that you could have some amazing crops one day. You got to actually plant some seeds. You know what I'm saying? So my encouragement to you would be to get over this hopeless thing and to embrace the hopeful thing, and attach to it a level of expectation of like, yeah, not only is it possible, but I expect to find it. I expect to create it. There's a show, you might be too young. There's a show back when I was younger called The Wonder Years. Have you ever heard of it? I haven't
seen it. I've heard of it.
Okay. All you have to do is go to Google and type in The Wonder Years and look at the images. And The Wonder Years is a story about, it's a love story, essentially, about two kids that fall in love and like their story together. It's amazing. And the girl in the story, her name is Winnie Cooper. And she is like the quintessential dream girl. She's the girl next door. She's cute. She's smart. She's funny. She's everything, right? They designed her to be like perfect. And so I grew up watching that show, thinking that like someone like that just exists. Not knowing like that they literally made her up. Right? Like someone that good doesn't really exist. They had to make her up. Like, you know, I was maybe a little foolish to believe that, but I believed it. And sure enough, one day I'm in a restaurant and Lindsay walks through the door. And the moment I saw her, I knew that we were going to be together. I knew that that was like more or less that was game over. I just knew it. And it took some time because the timing of the universe is not always the way that we think it's going to be. But we got married in March. And it was because I believed the whole way that it happened. Not only that I believed, but that I expected it to be real. And so and I say this to all my clients all the time. Really, the point of life is to see how good you can give it to yourself. The point of life is to see how freaking good it can be. And relationships are a big part of life. So I would, just because the majority of people on earth have kind of so-so or like good enough relationships, I wouldn't pay attention to that, because that doesn't have to be your story. You get to choose how your story goes. So, and again, of course, it comes with risk, right? It comes with inherent risk. The bigger you dream, the bigger the potential risk. And so the point is the risk is worth it. Lindsay graduated college and she moved back to Vermont, which is where we're both from. And I was like, this is my chance. This is it. Like, because college is kind of, because I was living in New York City, she was living in Florida, and then she was in London abroad. And it was like too hard for us to be together at that time. It was just like, I was in a weird place in life and just like, whatever. But then once she finished college, I had grown and she had grown, and I was like, okay, this is like going to be the thing. And we get together for lunch one day and she says to me, I'm getting married. Obviously it was not to me. Can you imagine how I felt? And yet there was a piece of me that didn't change. I was like, nope, I know that this is meant to be together. I'm not going to get in between them. I'm not going to be that guy, but I'm just going to hold on to what I believe. And 5 years later, she calls me up one day and she says, it's not working. I feel like we should be together. And I was like, yeah, right? None of that would have been possible if I didn't believe. So my suggestion to you, your friends who might think you're naive don't even believe in what you believe. So their opinion is irrelevant. All that matters is what you want. And I lost my mom in November. And it reminded me that life is really friggin' short. And the point is, in this very short amount of time to experience how good it can be. One of my friends said to me yesterday, at the end of your life, you meet God, and the first question that God says is, how was heaven? So if you think of it in terms of that, it changes things, doesn't it? It's like, man, I really get the opportunity to make my life a masterpiece. And it's my responsibility. And I can only experience it if I not only believe it, but go after it. It's not just gonna happen. That's just not how it works. And so my encouragement to you would be to just go for it. If that's what you really want, then to go for it. And however great you imagine it can be, my experience is that it can be. I had a long time to imagine what things would be like with Lindsay when we ended up together. And it's better than I imagined that it could be. And I have a pretty vivid imagination. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I don't think you'll, especially when you create that reality, you certainly won't regret feeling foolish for it. And even if you miss it somehow, I don't think you'll regret it, because at least you followed your heart. I was enamored. I was in love with just the idea of being in love. And that was enough to really make me feel good. Rather than that kind of like, you know, the crowd of like those skeptic, like cynicism kind of people, right? Like they're like, oh, love doesn't even really exist. It's not even real. Like their experience of life sucks before they even have to go through the suckiness of it, right? For the hopeful romantics, we get to be enamored just by the idea before we're even with anyone. Just to give yourself permission to be in love just with the idea will change your life. Right? Can't you feel that difference? To just stop fighting it and stop worrying about what other people think and just be enamored by the idea that it could even be possible, and just let yourself dream. Just let yourself be that kind of like fantasy dreamer that you are, that we know you are. Come on, Bridget. Nobody in here. Right? Doesn't it feel good though to just give yourself permission to go there? I know that it did for me. Because when Lindsay told me that she was getting married, I had two options. I could either just like pretend like I still didn't care and pretend like the magic was gone, which was like really difficult, and allow some of that hardened cynicism to take over, or just to continue to dream and believe, which made me feel way better. So I say, just do it.
So can I ask you something off the back of that?
You can ask me whatever you want.
Because like that, so that makes sense. That feels really good. I guess then my follow-up question is what you were just talking about like, what if you could take the cap off completely, right?
Yep.
Which is kind of like saying, I want every area of my life to be wonderful and amazing.
Yeah.
In like whatever way I can dream it and beyond. And then how does that kind of fit in with needing to prioritize, like, because there's a piece of it about taking action, not just sitting around and like kind of wishing for stuff.
Yeah.
So if I'm kind of dreaming big with a relationship idea, but also like business, and then like wanting to do more creatively and all these different areas that I know could be so much more.
Yeah.
Is it important for me to kind of focus on one at a time? Should I be trying to kind of...
No, you can't. First of all, the universe is a way better provider than you understand. That's one thing I've gotten very clear about over the years. So if you start to really believe in the magic of an awesome relationship and you start to show up in ways that will allow for that, the universe will surprise you. Like, I went to that restaurant and I had no idea what I was in for, but she walked through the door. I wasn't necessarily ready for it. And it certainly took a significant amount of time for us to end up together. And yet the universe didn't care. The universe was like, here you go. And some people would say that, yeah, but it's better to like focus on your business and then get into a relationship. I'm sure you've heard that before because that's more like practical and realistic. Mm-hmm. It's not true at all. Those are the people that are single that tell you that. It's a bunch of garbage. My business, just to be totally transparent with you, my business has gone through the roof since Lindsay and I have been together. Like, I have had record months and record years in my business. We've been together for about 5 years. In March will be 5 years that we've been together. In March we'll be married for a year and together for 5 years. In that time, my business has gone quantum because the amount of energy that I have to put into it has gone up. The amount of time that I have for it has gone down, but that doesn't take away from it because what I have to bring to the time that I do have is better. So if I have this much energy to put into this much time, or this much energy to put in this much time, which one would you choose? Obviously the second one. But not only that, I'm a better person. Like, my heart is like way bigger. I have more. And so I'm producing better results for my clients than ever before. I have more capacity. Like, for example, when my clients come here and do immersions with me one-on-one, in the past, by the end of the 2 days, I'd be like wiped out. And I'm an introvert. So like, that's just part of the deal, right? Like, we understand that. Nowadays, I can do 2 days and just like dance on it. I have so much that I can bring to the table because I'm in overflow, like, of what. It's funny, like how when you exercise, you have more energy, not less. It's kind of the same thing. It's like me giving so much to Lindsay actually makes it so that I have more to give to everybody else. Not to mention that what she pours into me also is available as well. And so there's all this extra bandwidth that I have. So this idea of like, should I do this one first or this, to kind of compartmentalize life is to fundamentally go against what life is. Like, life happens all at the same time. And we try to make it like, I'm focusing on my business right now. And then boom, the woman of your dreams walks in the door and you're like, well, shit, I guess that's not how it is. Right. So I'd say just be open to all of it.
I'm having kind of a tying up or connecting the dots moment, I think, with this and what we talked about literally like the first week when we were, which I think maybe is what you're going to bring back in today. But like that idea of like, when I think of like, oh, I need to take action on my goals.
Yep.
I'm kind of thinking too small, maybe, in the sense of like, I need to like make a dating profile and like, and it's like, or like I need to go out and get clients or whatever, where kind of what you're describing, what's clicking in for me is like, who is that person who has all those things that I want? And then how did they show up in the world? So maybe it means you are like connecting more with people around you or whatever it is, but it's not a matter of like having a checklist of things that you're doing. It's more just when you're putting energy into those areas, the way that the person who is there would, it's sort of like
totally
gets the ball rolling.
Totally. It's more so just the fact that you're open. Right? That when people are closed off to things, that's kind of, it's hard to have magic happen if you're really closed off to it. Doesn't mean that it can't happen, but it tends to happen to people more that are open to it. That's just how it goes. And so, yeah, it's not necessarily about creating a checklist. Certainly, maybe there could be some things that you're not doing that you could be doing that you may want to look at. Like if you want to be in an epic relationship and you stay in your house all the time, like, and yeah, maybe that won't work so much. Although internet dating, that changes things a little bit. But yeah, to just kind of open up more so to be honest and say, yes, I want an epic business and an epic relationship, and I am opening myself to that. That's the first step more than anything. And then the second piece of that would be, okay, is there anything that I'm not doing that I could be doing, like at a fundamental level, not necessarily like an action item list, but just fundamentals. What could I be doing that I'm not doing? Those, I mean, just if you started with just those two alone, I think you'd be in a very different place. Does that make sense?
Cool. Yeah.
Doesn't that sound better? Doesn't that sound like a better experience of life? I think so. Cool. Well, so congratulations. You get to have a truly epic relationship that's better than you can even imagine. And you get to give that to yourself. How does that feel?
Exciting.
Yeah, isn't it? Right? I really like, think about it. We have this ability to feel really amazing. There is the potential for two people to come together and just create epic magic, right? Isn't that true? So if that's true, isn't that like the point? Like why would that be available if it wasn't for you?
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, that's possible, but like, no, that's not really like what anyone should have. It's like, wait, what? Doesn't make any sense. So of course. So great. So it sounds like the relationship for you is like the big area where you want to expand with that.
I think that's where I am at the moment, having the most trouble believing it's possible.
Okay. I don't agree. I think you believe it's possible.
For me. Possible for me, maybe.
I think you believe it's possible for you. Tell me what it is that you're really hung up on.
Maybe it's the scariest of the things. I've kind of got like three major areas. One's the business side, one is creativity and like performing more.
Okay.
And then that would be probably the third of my like big things that I want to expand more. And I think it feels the scariest in terms of what, I don't know if this is actually what it feels like, but kind of like, what does that demand of me? Or like,
sure,
it's like to commit on that level to someone else feels scarier maybe than like, having a great successful business for myself, or being successful as a performer. Like those maybe are more like, maybe it's a control thing. It's more in my control versus someone else sort of having a claim on me. It feels like losing a freedom maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm not sure.
Maybe. You just tell me if this is true for you or not, but this tends to be what's true for many people that fall into the hopeful romantic category is that as much as they believe in love and they believe in the magic of it, they equally are scared to death to have their heart broken. How does that feel for you?
It's hard because it could be the truth underneath it. What I feel right now is just sort of resistance towards the effort. Okay. And I don't know if that's covering up a fear of actually just the heartbreak part.
Okay. So yeah, I'd maybe encourage you over the weekend to just sit with it and to give it enough time and space to get to the bottom of it. Because I can tell you that sometimes freedom comes from being put in a box. Like, you know what a haiku is, right? A haiku is such a great example because it doesn't make you any less creative. Have you ever noticed that? It doesn't make you less creative. It just puts your creativity within parameters. I can tell you that by being in the relationship that I'm in with Lindsay now, I feel more free than I've ever felt. And that's counterintuitive to a lot of people. A lot of people are afraid to get into relationships because they feel like they're a trap. And they can be if it's the wrong relationship. They can be if like both people want to kind of control each other. But if both people are really supportive and nurturing to each other, you'll feel more free than you've ever felt. So I can tell you that just from experience. Cool. Okay, great. So yeah, just kind of sit with it over the weekend, and then you can message me privately or you can message in the group, whatever kind of conclusion you come to.
Sure, I will.
Cool. Okay, so then that'll certainly be part of the dreaming of what's happening next year for you. Great. Excellent. Thanks, Bridget.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Cool. Yeah, Chelsea said, I would have never started my business without my husband encouraged me to chase my dreams. The better I show up in my relationship, the better the business goes. That's pretty awesome. Thanks, Chelsea. And yeah, that's so you're getting it from multiple sides. It's good all around. That's great. What else, guys? Who else has something they want to jam on with this? I'll just pause my screen and make it super awkward for you guys, and we'll play the who talks first game. Lewis is typing something, aren't you?
Well, I mean, just in general, this week has been
tough.
Awakening. Just realizing a lot of limitations I didn't know existed. For instance, my internet, well, the internet in the city in general has been down. So getting on client calls, scheduling calls has been absolutely a nightmare.
Yeah.
And it's not even to go and complain. It's just realizing that there's a limitation there.
Yeah.
So I think the biggest thing this week is I need to go and simplify processes.
Okay. Tell me about what that looks like for you.
I mean, you know, by nature, I'm very techie, right? So I like flashy bulbs and, you know, thingamajigs connecting to whatever I need to go and have done. Oh, that was really cool. I didn't realize you could do that type of thing, right?
Yeah.
But damn, if something breaks, and then you have to go and find where the thing broke and
Yeah.
So, oftentimes like I'll do client coaching sessions, or even like if I'm writing articles for any of the contracts that I'm finishing up, I require some way to go and stay connected with them.
Yeah.
Trying to go and see how to go and make it effortless, without having to try and find like constant solutions.
Yeah.
And I don't think we've talked about this before, but
yeah,
when I joined the group, way back when we started, whenever that was, I essentially decided that this was the last year that I was going to go and take on contracts. I'm not taking on any contracts. I'm going out on my own because that's what I've been feeling.
Good.
So now that I jumped off of that ledge, right, realizing that the parachute takes a little bit to go and open, it seems like what that's opened up is maybe possible resistance, not only from myself, because I mean, it's uncomfortable to go and say, hey, you know what, when your contract comes, I don't care how good the offer is, I just can't take it unless I'm in an actual advisory role, right? Like unless I'm coaching your company because you need it, right? So that switch has been really challenging for me, just personally.
Yeah.
And maybe it's more of a mental switch. Maybe I just need to simplify my mentality. I've been literally sitting with it, and meditation and practice, and just kind of giving myself space.
Sure.
Especially because I had no internet this week. So guess what?
You
I had lots
choice.
of time and lots of space. So, yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at, man. I think.
So tell me this.
Uh-huh.
What about it all feels the most challenging to you?
I would say the restriction, the restricting feeling that I get of not having power to go and get things moving again.
Okay. So tell me this, how do you want to feel?
Flowing.
Mm-hmm. Great. Okay. So let me ask you this, because I believe that sometimes, I believe there's a lot of things in life that are in our control, and there are some things that are not.
Yeah.
But the one thing that's always in control, the one thing we always have control of, is how we feel.
Yep.
That's something that we can choose.
Yeah.
So despite the challenges that you're currently experiencing, how can you allow yourself some flow?
Naturally, I just go and do something that goes and makes me happy.
Okay.
For instance, I'll go and I'll play some piano, or I'll go and write a story, or I have a gigantic ass cat here at the house, so I'll go and I'll play with my cat for a while, and coming to terms with things that make me happy, and living within the happiness is why in all of this I've even pulled the switch, because I do realize, and as Bridget was saying, how much happiness matters. There have been too many places, I would say, that I just kind of felt like, it became robotic. And I think that started to go in and really kind of make places that essentially I felt restricted within myself.
Okay, cool. So you said something pretty interesting. So it sounds to me like, you correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds like a lot of the restrictions you're experiencing are self-imposed.
Well, yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, what we allow persists, right?
Yep. Yep. Okay. Now, here's the opportunity. What we allow persists. You just hit it right on the head. So you have a choice starting now about what you are willing to allow moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not true for you. That's true for everyone on this call. Bridget, you can allow relationships that are like this, or you can raise your standard. Right? Bridget, you're experiencing some upper limits. You can choose to allow that self-sabotage to be part of your life, or you can decide that, no, it gets to be this good. Did you like that comment? That was good, right? It gets to be this good. It doesn't have to stop here. The floor, the ceiling can be the floor. Somebody else said that. That was really good. And it all comes down to what you are willing to allow. What are your standards? And so for you, Lewis, you tell me, like, what would you like your standard as far as feeling flow and happiness and flow and happiness to be moving forward?
I think, going along with that, the flow is just mobility.
Okay.
I finished school, I followed the whole, get a job, started contracting, blah, 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 paying back loans and whatever else. The whole adulting thing is nowadays what they call it. I don't know, whatever. So I ended up hating it to the nth degree, because it's just not it's not that it didn't make me, more of me, or didn't make me happy. It's just, it's like putting on a sweatsuit or a swimsuit that is just too damn tight. Right. And it's like, all right, well, this is what the protocol is, but this really sucks. And this is really uncomfortable. And I just did not fit in.
Yeah.
So my initial reaction, of course, is always to go and rebel against the system and, create something that's going to go and, set me free. And I had no damn idea what I was doing when I said, all right, I'm going to go set myself free. And I spent a lot of money and fell on my face plenty of damn times.
Yeah.
So then I had to go and come back to the contracting to just, see what the hell I did. Because I didn't know, I decided and I went on impulse, and I had no general direction as to even who I was.
Yeah.
I had these beautiful plaques that said that I was this, and I was just like, well, maybe I know a lot about this, but it's not really who I am at all.
Sure.
So that has been the area that I've had to kind of just more confront.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you for sharing all of that with me. And you didn't answer the question.
So what would it be? It would be more.
Listen, the question is simple.
Yeah.
The question is, from here on, how are you going to allow for more flow and more happiness?
Flow and happiness.
How are you going to allow? What are you going to do to allow for more flow and more happiness? What kind of standard could you create?
It's a good question.
That is the question.
Yeah, and I just find myself thinking, all right, well, what's this? And then what does my gut say?
There you go. What does your gut say? I don't care about your mind.
Right.
I care about your heart.
So my initial reaction is, if I want it simple, just to go and keep it simple. Keep things flowing very simply.
Great.
That's it.
Great. You know what one of my favorite quotes from Albert Einstein is?
Detail.
Genius is not making simple ideas. Genius is making complex ideas simple, not making simple ideas complex. I would easily say that most people have a habit of making life more complicated than it needs to be. And it sounds like that's a bit of what you're experiencing right now.
Yeah.
All of the flow, all of the happiness that you want is available to you. It's right there. The cat's probably not far from where you're sitting as we speak.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The piano, the practice, all of that stuff, it's right there. And so it comes down to your not only decision, but commitment, standard to engage in those things, to give yourself permission to do those things. And I would even go a step further as to say, would you say, if you're really honest, would you say that you're the kind of guy that is flow, that is happiness? That's kind of who you are?
Yeah, sure.
Totally. So this is not about changing anything. This is just about being more honest with about who you really are. I'm a flow kind of guy. I'm a happiness kind of guy. I play with my cat. I do the piano. That's kind of like who I am. Is that accurate?
Yep.
Cool. So I want you to just stop fighting it. Don't stop making it more complicated than it needs to be.
Got it.
Does that sound fair enough?
Fair.
Okay. Cool. So here's what I want. I want you to experience some flow and some happiness this week, this weekend. Okay? That is my invitation. That is my challenge to you. This weekend, to go out of your way to experience flow and happiness, despite all the stuff that's going on.
Got it.
Can you meet me with that?
I'm on it.
Okay, cool. And then on Monday, I want you to tell us all what you did and how fun it was.
Yep, easy enough.
Deal?
Yep, deal.
Okay. Cool. Let's see. Bridget, what did it say? I'm going to ask myself that more. When I want more of something in life, can I describe myself as that? Yeah, totally. Here's what I want you to know, guys. All the stuff that you want in life wants you. All the stuff that you are seeking in life is seeking you. I really believe that. And so to think it, because at the end of the day, and I sound like a broken record, I know, but identity is what drives behavior, right? So I consider myself an athlete. I go to the gym 5 days a week without fail. If I miss a day, I make it up. I try to go Monday through Friday. If I miss a day, I go Saturday. That's just how it is, because I believe that in my identity, I am an athlete. And what do athletes do? They train. This is how much athletes train, and this is how much they actually perform, right? So to be an athlete, it's really not about performing, it's about training, right? Acting, Bridget, is the same way. Most actors, the actors that I know never stop. I mean, they're just improvising and they're just like riffing all the time. And then every now and then they perform, right? Because that's who they are. For flow people and happiness people like Lewis, he's just playing with the cat, playing piano all the time. Like, that's just who he is. So if there's anything that you're not, if there's something that you desire that's maybe not who you currently have been, it's not about becoming something that you're not. It's about realizing, oh, that's who I am, and then letting go of everything that's not that. Oh, I've been, for me, health and fitness was like, oh, I'm a health and fitness guy. I had to let go of that because what I really was an athlete. But if I held on to, I'm kind of a health and fitness guy, then I could work out 2 days a week and kind of like that was enough. Like that was good enough. So transformation, I'd encourage you to write this down. Transformation is not an additive process. It is a subtractive one. It's not about adding new things. It's about letting go of the things that are in the way. And that's the bottom line. Yeah, totally, Chelsea. The things that we see in other people, the results we see in the world that we desire them so much because we have them, but we've been neglecting them, right? It's like it's so close and we know it. Subconsciously, we know it. We just haven't given ourselves permission to be it, to do it, to have it, to give it, right? 100%. I think that's so beautiful. So I think that's it for today, guys. I know we kind of had one initial idea that we were going to run with today, and it kind of became something else. But I think where we are is just as good, if not better, than that. And we can always jam on that stuff later. So, yeah, like there is no difference between what you want and what you can have as long as you let go of everything that's not that. So Bridget, for you, it's like to let go of that realistic, practical, like this is what maybe most people have, and this is like what it maybe should be. If you just let that go, that hopeful romantic in you is just going to go, yeah, and just come right out. Lewis, same thing for you. If you can just let go of like, oh, things have to be complicated, or this is making things hard, and just let go of that, then that natural desire for you to jam on the keys and just do your thing is just going to happen. Chelsea, same thing for you. It's like this growth trajectory that you're on is just beautiful. And yet there's this thing in your mind that's like, oh, I should be here. So like, as I start to get here, I'm going to come back down. But if we're really honest, we both know that who you really are is like up there. Am I right? Or if I'm lying, you just tell me that I'm full of shit. But I'm right?
You're not lying.
I'm not lying. So that's what it gets to be this good really means. It means, hey, let's let go of anything that wants to hold me back, because it really does get to be this good. That's who I really am. That's who I really am. Like, because think about it, the version of you that's up there and super awesome, is that one more real than like this one? Yeah, of course. Like we trick ourselves into thinking that this is the real one. It's not. But maybe that's the one we're used to. Maybe that's the one that we feel safer with. Maybe that's the one that we feel like we deserve that one, right? But it's all an illusion. It's all garbage. So I want you guys to embrace this, because it's just going to take your life to a whole different level. And I know that's true because I can see the little smirks on your face. And I like that. Cool. Thank you, guys. Awesome stuff here today. And I hope you guys have a great weekend as always, and I'll look forward to jumping in with you next week. Bye, guys.